Hey everybody, Dustin Dopirak here for VolTalk. We tried to shoot one of these last night after the game with intern Troy Provost-Heron. Unfortunately, that one came out really blurry, and going to try this one again from the Jacksonville Marriott. Unlike me, Tennessee does not get a do-over for what happened last night. They lose 28 to 27 in absolutely gut-wrenching fashion to Florida, extending their losing streak in that series to 11 games, and this has to be the most heartbreaking, painful one. They were up 27-14, went up 27-14 with 10:19 to go, gave up 2 touchdowns in the last 4:09, including a 63-yard touchdown pass, kind of catch and run on a 4th and 14 from Will Greer to Antonio Callaway. Had 3 defenders right there on a deep slant. Callaway just turned right around all of them, busted it down the sideline, and that was pretty much the end of it. Vols tried to rally back, had a pretty decent drive going. Got the ball to about the Florida 32. Had an illegal substitution penalty. Had all kinds of disorganization. Could have probably run another play if they moved a little bit faster, but ended up having to kick a 55-yard field goal. Aaron Medley just misses by inches on what was a really good-looking kick. A second chance at it. Florida called a timeout to try to ice him, but his second chance was a lot closer than the first one. Still not close enough. And this is one that Tennessee coach Butcher Jones is really going to have to own. He's facing a lot of questions, facing a lot of doubt, really, after a couple decisions that didn't work out so well. Biggest one, most inexplicable one, after Tennessee scores to go up, what ended up being 27-14, 10-yard touchdown run from Jalen Hurd. He opts to kick the extra point as opposed to going for 2 in that case. If he makes the 2, they would have gone up 14 points, and those 2 Florida touchdowns would have only sent the game into overtime as opposed to giving Florida the game. He explained later, he said, they were looking at the chart, and he also trusted his defense to not give up 2 scores at that point, felt pretty confident in it. But if you look online and look for any 2-point conversion chart, you're going to have a hard time finding one that tells you that you're supposed to kick an extra point with 10:19 to go if you're up 12. Also, not exactly sure what it means to say that you're trusting your defense there. Why are you any less trustworthy of them to hold a 12-point lead than a 13-point lead, or any less trustworthy of them to have 14 points? I'm not exactly sure what his logic was there. He tried to explain it, and I don't know that it made particular sense to anyone. So it comes off as just, not really a great decision. Obviously, there's one in hindsight that makes a lot less sense. A couple other questionable decisions that at least were understandable. On 2 occasions, he called a timeout on 4th down, with Florida facing 4th down when they were bringing out a kicking unit. Once was on a punt that he said they didn't have the right personnel for. Florida ends up converting on 4th down. That ended up being harmless because Florida ended up punting later in that drive anyway. But another one, Florida was going to kick a field goal, or was at least lining up to kick a field goal on a 4th and 6. Jones calls timeout, said he thought they were going to fake the field goal. They ended up coming out with the offense, converting on 4th and 6, scoring a touchdown in the next play. Obviously, if they would have run a fake field goal, maybe that doesn't work out either. But certainly it just didn't look good at the time. And just some disorganization in certain cases. Certainly the big moment, they converted on, I think, a 3rd and 2. Had a play at the sideline, and the clock kept running. I guess he wasn't ruled out of bounds. I think it was a pass from Josh Dobbs to Ethan Wolfe. They didn't really get organized. I think it was Alex Ellis that ran on the field. That was an illegal substitution play. They had to call a timeout just to make sure they didn't have a 10-second runoff. So all kinds of bad things happened there that led to Medley having to try from 55 yards as opposed to closer for what would have been a game-winning field goal. And this one is going to hurt Tennessee on a lot of notes. They also gave up a bunch of 4th downs. I think Florida was 3 for 15 on 3rd down. Florida was 5 for 5 on 4th down. Tennessee has now allowed its opponents to complete 9 out of 10 4th down conversions so far this season. And these ones were pretty significant. Obviously, the 4th and 14 to Callaway, a couple 4th and 7s, 4th and 8s on a long drive that led to a 5-yard touchdown from Greer to Brandon Powell. With 4:09 left, they cut it down to 1 score. They cut it down to 6 points. Had a bunch of just mishaps there at breaks in communication, breaks down in coverage, a lot of things that didn't go well. And this one's going to hurt Tennessee on a lot of levels. For one thing, it's a significant loss in the SEC East race. They're obviously just starting SEC play, but it's a big loss to start, to lose to an SEC East foe, and kind of puts them behind the 8 ball. And they've got Arkansas coming in next week, then Georgia in a game that they were hoping going into the season was going to be the one that really determined the SEC East race. And Alabama as well, they've got a chance to really hang a bunch of losses on that SEC record fast. And this one's obviously going to cost Butch Jones with the fan base a lot. Certainly, the fan base was not happy after the Oklahoma loss when they were up 17-0 and then 17-3 in the fourth quarter to end up losing that game in double overtime, 31-24. They had some questions about his play calling late in that game. Certainly, they're going to have a lot more after this one. A lot of disenchanted fans out there, and that's going to be difficult to win them back. Somehow, they have to rally the team together and also put out a product that the fans are going to be happy with, and it's going to be a difficult slog from this point forward. This loss creates a pretty big mental hurdle. Add that one on to Oklahoma, and certainly they're going to have to deal with that going forward. Just the idea that they haven't been able to close out big games against good teams yet. So that's going to be a bigger mental hurdle going forward. Every fourth quarter, this is going to be something that kind of comes back and haunts them. So Tennessee really has to rally out of a season that really carried a lot of promise. They got behind the 8 ball really quick, and they've got to do a lot to turn things around. Thanks, everybody.